Are sous vides even relevant anymore? It's been a really long time since I've used mine. But when I did use them back in the day, I remember a time when sous vides were like all the craze, right? Everybody wanted a sous vide, everyone had a sous vide. There were YouTube channels that were entirely about sous vide, but you don't really hear much about them these days. They've also oversaturated the market. I mean, you can go on Amazon and there's like a ton of sous vide manufacturers nowadays. This is my original Anova. I forget which model exactly, it's been discontinued, but it was like the Anova with the Wi-Fi and all that, which was very important to me back in the day. And of course there's Joule. I think the creator of Joule is also the creator of this guy, Combustion Inc. If I'm not mistaken, it's Chris Young, but don't quote me on that. So do sous vide still have a place in today's kitchens? Or I guess the better question is it still cool to sous vide? Let's dive in. Sous vide is actually really cool. So the way that sous vide works, if you don't know already, you basically put this circulator, this cooker, inside something, right? It could be a big pot, it could be like a dedicated sous vide tank, whatever you find that it's appropriate. Just make sure you have enough water to completely submerge the food that you're cooking. Now, as this thing heats up the water, the cooking environment, which also becomes the ambient environment of the cooking chamber, is at a precise number, which means the food, the internal temperature of the food, will never go past that cooking environment. You will get perfect edge-to-edge doneness of almost exactly the same temperature all the way across if you leave it in long enough. Could you get variations? Yes. If you pull the food out too early, like anything else, you could have raw food in the middle, or temperatures lower or even slightly lower than your target temperature. But theoretically speaking, if you leave it in a certain amount of time, the internal temperature of the food will be very close, if not exactly the same temperature of the cooking environment that you set on the sous vide. Sounds pretty cool, right? Yay science. It is cool. But sous vide has its drawbacks. What are those drawbacks, you ask? Well, for one, sous vide is incredibly slow when compared to other cooking vessels, like pots and pans or even your barbecue grill. See, because you're cooking the temperatures much lower than you would, let's say, in a frying pan or on your charcoal grill, it's kind of a little bit too much of gentle cooking, and it just takes a really long time to get the internal temperature of your food to hit those temperatures. So for example, if you like your steaks rare or medium rare, let's say you're shooting for a doneness of 130 degrees internal temperature. Well, if you're cooking at 130 degrees, I mean, that's like taking low and slow to the extreme, right? Even when you're smoking on the barbecue grill, you're usually smoking what, 225, 250? And that's significantly more than 130 degrees. So you gotta really think about, do you have the time to sous vide? But let's say for a minute you do have the time to sous vide. Well, the good news is you can never overcook your food. So that same steak that you're gonna sous vide and try to hit an internal temperature of 130 degrees, well, the good news is if you leave it in there and you forget about it, you can't overcook it, right? It can't exceed the temperature that you set. So although you can undercook things still with sous vide, it's almost impossible to overcook things with sous vide. Unless something happens to this machine and it shorts out or somebody changes the temperatures on you, you're going to never exceed the temperature that you set because of thermodynamics. Now, other things can happen. You can over sous vide things. You can sous vide things for a week straight. Try that, it's actually quite interesting. Basically, the food has this really weird texture where it's just a little too soft, it's almost mushy. I don't like it at all. But you can also find a sweet spot. You can sous vide a steak, let's say, for 4 hours or 6 hours, way more than you need to. And it will also help tenderize that steak. There's a lot of science behind sous vide if you have the patience. But there's also some really nice upsides. See, sous vide can also be very convenient. For example, this is a Wi-Fi model. I specifically bought the Wi-Fi model because when I used to have to travel really far for work, in the mornings or even the night before, I would prep my dinners. I would prep them for sous vide. And then the morning of, I would dump them in the sous vide water bath and head out to work. Most of the time the food would be frozen and it would be thawing in the water. And then I would either, I think through the app, you can actually set a like delayed start. I'd either do that or set an alarm on my phone and just make sure I hit cook. By the time I got home, no matter how long that would be, the food was ready and all I had to do was do a quick sear. Needless to say, it was great eating every night. But that's also the thing. You kind of get sick of sous vide after a while. I know that may not make sense, right? It makes perfect food. How could you get sick of it? Well, it's because there's no variation in the food. Like I said, it's perfect edge to edge doneness. And when you're having that all the time, it kind of tastes boring after a while. And I love to cook. I like to go through this entire process. I like to create things and put my own signature on things, right? Add flavors or cook certain textures and so forth. With sous vide, it's always going to come out the same every single time. After a while, it kind of gets boring. But here's the other thing. If you guys haven't noticed already, my sous vide unit has a lot of stuff in here, and that's because we have really hard water. Well, I want to talk about the best purchase we did. This is the Water Drop Reverse Osmosis Water Dispenser. It's giving you reverse osmosis filtered water, right? And you get instant access to cold, hot, or room temperature. Now, what I really like about this unit is I have a family, we have small kids. Reverse osmosis is known for being a really good way to filter out your water, sometimes a little too good. So literally, it can take out almost everything, including the good stuff. But Water Drop offers this unit, which comes with that final filter, which is actually putting in the good minerals back into the water. But it's completely up to you. If you feel like you don't need that and you just want that perfect reverse osmosis filtered water, they have a unit for you. Now I know what you're thinking. Reverse osmosis, right? You always need two ports. It needs an inlet, right? Obviously your water source, but it also needs an outlet, because what reverse osmosis does is it gets rid of all that bad stuff. They made the installation process incredibly easy and gave you everything that you need, including the little adapter so you can drill that 1/4-inch hole into your drain pipe and effortlessly hook this thing up. It took me like 30 minutes. Your family's gonna think you're gonna feel healthier, the water tastes fantastic, and you have the peace of mind of knowing that it's reverse osmosis filtered water, and your equipment's gonna thank you because it's gonna prolong your equipment. You're no longer gonna have this hard water stuff. I highly recommend Water Drop. If you guys are interested below, I will have a link to this unit in the description of this video. Honestly guys, don't be afraid to get a reverse osmosis unit. This is the way to go. But there also was another thing that was bothering me. See, the way that you have to prepare sous vide. You always have to use a bag. You have to seal the food inside of a bag to prepare it for the water bath. That always left a certain degree of uneasiness for multiple reasons. Number one, the bags are plastic. And I know, there's sous vide safe bags. The probability of actually getting toxins from the plastic bags is probably low, but it's still there. And I don't know how well it's been tested. And likewise, you're throwing out all those bags, so you're also polluting the environment. Is that worth it? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're always polluting to some degree, but reducing these plastics, these harmful plastics that are everywhere, they're in your pans, they're, in your grocery stores, that are in your cars and your furniture and even your cameras and accessories. We are killing the environment with our fascination of all things plastic. Now I want to go back to, is sous vide safe? The bags that are sous vide rated are sous vide rated because the plastic themselves are rated at a higher temperature, right? So theoretically, most sous vides can't go over what, 205, 210, maybe 220? I think this one in particular can't go past 205 degrees, but let's say 220. But nonetheless, we don't really know, right? So I'm sure there's some leaching. We are always taking calculated risks in life with everything that we do. So nothing is always 100% safe, 100% pure. You kind of need to weigh out the risks and benefits. So is sous vide dead? Is it still cool? That's a question that only you can answer. But me personally, yeah, I think sous vide's still very, very cool. Occasionally, when I want that perfect steak that I know is going to rival any restaurant and literally give me edge to edge perfect doneness, Sous vide's it. Yes, I can get great results with my pans or my grills. And 90% of the time, 85% of the time, that's where I want to cook my food. But occasionally, this still has a place in my kitchen. There are other inconveniences, and there's still more pros and cons. You still gotta sear the food and yada yada yada. But come on, sous vide's pretty cool. And I get why there's entire channels dedicated to this guy. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Do you still like sous vide? Do you still use sous vide? Have you never used sous vide? And what are your thoughts on plastics in general? And is sous vide toxic? As always, guys, thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing and joining our channel memberships. I'll catch you on the next video.